Hey everyone! Today I'm going to be talking about 3 of my recent reads. I have 1 fantasy, 1 contemporary fiction, and 1 autobiography that will quite literally take you out of this world. Hi, my name is Talia and I am the Bandana Book Mom. Let's jump right into what we're going to be talking about today. The first book on my recent reads is Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere. Now, this book almost lost me about a third of the way through, and I'm still not exactly sure why. I think partly is because I was reading it on a plane with my young children, and I just needed something lighter to read at the time. I put it down for a couple weeks, read a couple of other books, and then picked this back up, and I'm so glad that I did because it ended up being a really good read. So this book is about a man who lives in London and just your regular average Joe going to work, has a fiance, just living his life. And one day he finds a girl bleeding on the sidewalk and like really not doing well. So he picks her up, takes her home, and helps her. And it turns out this girl, her name is Dor, she is part of this underground society that none of the London, it's called London Above, the regular London people know about. And she is able to open doors, and she's had this traumatic stuff happen with her family, and she's basically running for her life. So he meets her, he helps her get help from the London Underground, and then I think it's the next day, he realizes that his life no longer exists in London Above. Like, he goes to work and they're like, who the heck are you? He keeps trying to hail taxis and like they don't even see him. Like, it's really, really weird. So he ends up going to London Below, and the rest of the book is basically him trying to, number 1, help Dor figure out what happened to her family, why they were killed, and what they want with her, and him trying to figure out how do we get out of this place. So I think the reason I didn't like it at first was because it's very dark. Like, it's literally not even dark in like the writing. It's just like, it's underground, it's dirty. They're talking about muck and mire, and like the guys are biting rat heads, and you're just like, ugh, you know. It was just a little bit like much to take in at first, but the more I read and got used to like the characters and the atmosphere, the more I enjoyed it. Great descriptive work is done in this book. Like, for example, you know the phrase nails on a chalkboard? Well, at one point it's like he laughed and it was like the sound of a blackboard being dragged against severed fingernails. Like, it's just like the way he described things was just awesome. I was like, that's perfect. That's so much more creative than saying nails on a chalkboard. And it really fit in with the style of this writing. The antagonists at one point are like standing by this like bank of like muck. It's basically like the sewage system. And they're just like, this is so amazing and wonderful. And can you believe the people above the ground have no idea of this like magic that exists here? And it's like the sewer. So it makes you chuckle, like, because you're just like, this is the way it is. This is the way they like love the underground muck. So really ended up enjoying it. There's also some London history woven in, which when I was reading I was like, wait, is that real history or just fake? And I looked it up after. I was like, oh, that really is part of London history. So I love when books wrap in a little history as well, little tidbits I didn't know about London. So good, solid 4-star for me. I think I'm interested to read more of Neil Gaiman. I don't think I would want to go much darker than this. I like books that are a little bit lighter, I think, in general, but I am interested to see what else he has written. So if you have any other recommendations for Neil Gaiman books that you have written and loved, please let me know. The next book we are talking about today is The Book of Polly by Catherine Hepnstall. This book was the choice for my book club that's meeting next week. This is a brand new book club for me. I found it online, but it actually meets in person, so I'm very excited to have a book club full of ladies to go meet with once a month. So this was the recommended book. So I knew nothing about it going into it, just picked it up from the library and basically started reading. This is a book about a woman named Polly who is older when she gives birth to her daughter, 58 years old, and it picks up when she's about 68 and her daughter is about 10. So it's basically just kind of following the story of their lives from that point forward. Being an older mother, Willow, her daughter, is very concerned that she's going to die and get cancer. The bear is what they call it in the book. And her mother is very, just kind of does things the way she wants to do it. Like, will walk around with a shotgun and picks fights with the neighbors, and just described as like a cankerous old woman. So it was really funny. I was chuckling the whole way through. There's like kind of like a mystery involved too. Like, they tell you that Polly, like a long time ago, left her hometown and never went back. So the whole time Willow's trying to figure out like, well, what happened? What's going on? There's some older siblings in the picture, so she's trying to like get information out of them. The end wrapped up nicely. It was just a sweet story. I wouldn't like, I don't know that I would be like, yes, go out and read this book, it's amazing. And there was no like major like twists and turns, but I thought it was a cute story. It was good. At one point, one of my favorite parts was like Polly couldn't get along with the neighbors, and Willow at one point does something kind of naughty to one of the neighbors, and Polly's like, you know, you can't do that. You can't do that to neighbors. That's not the way you can behave. But then she like gives her $1 and like slides it to her, and then like the chapter ends. And that happened a couple times, and I was like, that's cute. That's funny. So yeah, I am curious to get to book club and meet some new people. Hopefully I fit in well and I'm not too awkward, and yeah, see what they think about it as well. So that should be fun. Last, I have an autobiography. So, Buzz Aldrin, Magnificent Desolation. This book I actually got about 10 years ago. I was randomly in Las Vegas, and I was in the Luxor, just like wandering around one day, and Buzz Aldrin was there, and he was selling copies of his books and doing autographs. So this is signed by Buzz Aldrin, which is very cool. Buzz, for those of you who don't know, is one of the first men on the moon. He was technically second, just a couple minutes after Neil Armstrong. So he has been on the moon, and he has signed my book and written this book. So I didn't start reading this book until about a year ago. And then as I started my channel, I was like, I need to clean up some of these books that I have, like, you know, when you get to books and you just have like a little bit more at the end. I was probably like 2/3 done with this, and I was like, I need to finish up this book. So this book was not as much about the moon and his astronaut career as I had thought it was originally. It does start with like talking about the moon and his history and what it was like landing on the moon, which is riveting. And then it just goes a lot into his life and what it was like after being on the moon. And he struggled a lot with depression and alcoholism and just made some super bad choices. And this book is just a really raw look at a lot of that. So it's interesting because I feel like a lot of celebrities don't share like the deep darkness that they go through, and Buzz definitely does in this book. So while it wasn't super exciting to read at times, it was definitely good. And he talks a lot about just, this was probably in like mid-70s when he was battling with his depression and alcoholism, and how it really was not something you talked about to be battling with depression at that point in time, especially for like a strong man who's been to the moon, and how he really was open about it at that time, and helped take down some of the walls surrounding getting treatment for that. So that was really good to see. It also just talked a lot about just promotions, commercials, random jobs he's had since going to the moon, everything from being like, they had a Buzz Lightyear training session to go to the moon, and Buzz Aldrin did like training videos for him. So everything from that to teaching kids about what it was like to be an astronaut, to being in the Toyota Grand Prix. Just a whole bunch of random topics were covered. Kind of close to the end, it started getting kind of rambly. Like, it was kind of just jumping from, oh, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I did this, and it wasn't like a real good flow going on. but he was 80 years old when this book was published. So it kind of had the ramblings of an old man at the end because he was. So overall, I enjoyed it. I have read another astronaut memoir as well that I really liked. So this just got me more excited. I've been excited about space for a long time. So reading astronaut memoirs is something I think that I will be doing more of in the future. So that's all I have for today. I have a huge pile of laundry that I need to fold over here, so I'm gonna get to that. I hope you have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Read a good book, and if you are having a bad hair day, just wear a bandana. Bye.